So this exists, although it probably shouldn't. This is a 42-inch top mount, flush mounted spinner ceiling fan installed on an 11-foot ceiling. This was pretty much useless when it was installed like this in the media room, and in here it's even more uselesser. At least in the media room, there is a slight chance of it doing a little bit of something if you put it into reverse, but I think in here there's just no chance of it doing anything whatsoever. As ridiculous of an install as this is, like all the other high-up installs we've done in here, there is something I like about it. It has a very nostalgic hue to it. I remember back in the 2000s, when there were still ceiling fans around, and into the early 2010s, seeing a lot of installations, even on a more extreme degree than this, installations that were a situation where the fan was just completely and totally worthless. Fans mounted 15, 20 plus feet off the floor in a church, in a store, in some kind of a commercial environment. Regular residential grade fans like this, not even industrial ones. And many of those were actually spinners. I can think of one church install in particular that had two white and brass spinners that were probably 25 feet up off the ground. And they were run on high speed forwards, did nothing, couldn't feel an iota of air on the ground. And yet they were used all the time as if they were actually serving some kind of purpose. I just remember, and I have very fond memories of so many ceiling fans back in the 2000s set up in installs like this where they were totally ineffective and they were just used all the time as if they were worth having. And it always made me wonder, like, somebody paid money to put the fan there and thought it would be worth having and wanted the effects of it, but then should be able to go back into space and say, I don't feel any air moving. Is this working properly? And it's just like, no, it's there and it's working. Okay. It's kind of interesting how in this room in particular, with the way the beams are, a very, very high up install like this works, or a 2.5 foot down rod works, but then a 1-inch rod or an 18-inch rod doesn't work, and it all has to do with the visibility of the fan around the room. This is an issue that we ran into when I tested the Dayton Industrial. It didn't look quite right on the shorter rod because it was hanging on that 12 to 18-inch range, and it would be blocked by the beams, or your view would be blocked by the beams in most places around the room. It being this high up, you can actually see it above the beams in most parts of the room, and so it works from a visual standpoint. In addition to the nostalgia element to the incorrect install, the lighting effect is really quite neat with the fans this high up. The fan becomes in the path of some of the lights shining towards the middle of the room, and it not only really illuminates the fan, but also creates a very distinct shadow on the ceiling. This looks particularly nice with polished brass fans. Even though it's really too high up to be functional, and arguably higher up than it should be from an aesthetic standpoint, having the lighting like that really keeps the fan as a focus of the room. I really thought that because it's a white fan and the blades are light colored, it was just going to disappear up in the ceiling like it's not even there. But it doesn't. The light really brings it into the picture still, which is interesting. I'll bring the light up on the fan a little bit here. We do have a 60 watts incandescent bulb in there, which is way too bright for filming, but we'll do that. And now I will switch off the spotlights here, can lights. And also for the same reason, because the lighting, the fan stays in the picture. Now if we turn the lights off, then the fan does kind of disappear from the field of view, because there's nothing drawing your eye up there anymore. Not that it's going to do any good, but let's put it up to full speed. I got to get the ladder back out because this is toned down to low on the chain in order to get that nice aesthetics low. Whoa. That was almost catastrophic. And we've got our plethora of buzzing back, thanks to the flush mounts and all that vibration just passing right into the building. As expected, I feel absolutely nothing directly underneath it. And I don't see any of the plants moving around the room. And I don't really feel any air currents besides those I create as I walk around. So this is just a completely and totally worthless configuration. I have no idea why this exists. I don't know how the manufacturer didn't test this and say, oh, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't sell it flush mount because it doesn't work. Nope, just check the box and send it off to production. Oh, I don't get it. I just don't get it. It would be one thing if it just didn't work well, but it does not work at all. It is completely and totally worthless. I'm still amazed at how smooth this thing runs. This is one of the best balanced ceiling fans I've ever tested. We are going to install this in here on a 2-foot down rod to see how it performs. I was actually quite happy with the performance of this in the media room on the default rod. But this is just, no, this is completely hindering all the performance. I'm curious to see how much better it behaves on the 2-foot rod versus the default one. We have seen some pretty significant differences. Perhaps one of the most significant difference in performance would be the SMC KB36, which was not what I was expecting because it's one of the smallest fans we've tested in here. But I guess the difference is that the blades were close to the ceiling. And maybe the blades closer to the ceiling versus the length of the blades. You know, maybe the distance is more important than the length. I always figured a 52-inch fan would move more air, drop down from the ceiling, and that would have more of a difference than the 36-inch fan, but perhaps because the SMC KB36 sits so close to the ceiling, it's kind of an effect like this, where it's just not getting enough air. Because those are top mount spinners as well, but they're not flush mount. This is important here to be able to see it from in the dining room, and you can really get a good idea from this picture, the height situation. This is above the beams, but if you drop it down another 12 inches, it'd be right in line with the beam. But then if you drop it down 24 inches, it's below the beam. Yep, this is 100% worthless. Okay, we'll switch it off now. I am kind of curious to run some testing this winter with mounting fans higher up like this, because I'm curious of the effects on the heat reclamation. I'm hoping by the winter time I will have the triple electrical blocks set up in here finished, so we'll be able to use 3 fans. But the question is, will the fan reclaim the heat better if it's up at the top of the ceiling, or will it reclaim the heat better if it's at the normal 2-foot height? And I don't know the answer to that because the wood stove is fan forced. And I have found that the current from the wood stove typically starts to rise once it gets towards the middle of the room. And I think that the fan kind of combats the rising of the heat as it happens, rather than the fan draws the heat from on the ceiling and pushes it back down. I think it stops it from going up there in the first place. So that's why I think there might not be a significant difference between the fan being mounted high up versus the fan being mounted 2 feet down. I did have the, what was that Ticking Hunter one? The Beacon Hill. I did have the Beacon Hill mounted up high during the winter time. and I really just don't quite remember the difference in performance. I think it worked well for heat reclamation, but it did anyways on the longer rod, so maybe there was no difference, and that's why I don't remember, because it wasn't notable. I have a suspicion there won't be any difference. But anyways, here's this in this completely ludicrous configuration that should not be an option, but for some reason is.